how to be like Nike and just do it. Today's podcast episode is all about my consistency hacks, the different mindsets that I hold that really allow me to just show up and get stuff done. What are the things that I do that allow me to be like Nike and just do it? What are my consistency hacks? Courtney Sanders here. Welcome back to my podcast. And in today's podcast, I want to talk about how to be like Nike and just do it. So even this title I got from someone who answered a question that I posted on my stories where I was saying that I was recording a lot of content. You all know that I batch record content. And if you don't know, you can check that out here. And if you're listening to the audio version of this on Spotify, I'm actually pointing to a place on my screen because I have a video version of this podcast as well as YouTube. So if you're listening, come on over to YouTube and go ahead and check out that video version. But I have a video where I talk all about how I batch record content, but I like to post this question to my audience on Instagram when I'm getting ready to batch record content because I want to make sure that I am covering things that people would find helpful. And I thought that this was so funny. Someone literally answered my request and they said, can you please do a video or a podcast or something on literally how to be like Nike and just do it. So today's podcast episode is all about my consistency hacks and essentially the different things that I have done, both practically speaking, but also the different mindsets that I hold that really allow me to just show up and get stuff done. I mean, even this podcast is a great example of that because like I mentioned, it's something that I have been consistent with. This podcast, these YouTube videos, I'm consistent because of all the strategies that I'm going to talk about in today's podcast episode. So with that, let's go ahead and get into it. What are the things that I do that allow me to be like Nike and just do it? What are my consistency hacks? Well, the first hack that took me a long time to realize that I do this, but I actually stumbled on this when I realized that this was the reason that sometimes I struggled with being consistent with things. And that is this concept of self-image. So I think a lot of people struggle with consistency or struggle with just doing it because at the end of the day, they see themselves as the type of person that doesn't do it, right? Like, you know, if you see yourself as a couch potato, but you're like, man, I really want to start working out. I really want to get healthier. You're going to struggle to be consistent because by definition, you don't identify as the type of person who can do these different things consistently. And so I really had a light bulb moment with this actually after I had my daughter, because like, you know, most new parents, I was really struggling to get sleep, let alone work out consistently. But at about 9 or 10 months, she started to sleep through the night. And I started to be like, okay, it's about time that I get back on my bike. And for those of you that don't know, I am a super Peloton fan, Peloton girl. I have a Peloton in my office that I like to work out, but I felt really bad because I had gone for months and I wasn't really consistently riding, my Peloton bike. And so I was really struggling to be consistent. And I noticed part of the reason why I was struggling to be consistent was because I kept saying things like, oh, I'm a new mom, I'm tired, like almost giving myself permission not to work out because of course, new moms who are tired don't work out. Like, Courtney, get with it. Like you're a sleepy new mom. Like you don't need to be working out consistently. However, at the same time that I was a sleepy new mom, I was also building out new programs in my coaching business. I was working on different things behind the scenes with my team. I was like focusing on growing my business. And I realized that there was almost like two identities that were warring in my mind, right? On one hand, I was really adopting and accepting this identity of, oh, I'm a new mom and I'm tired and I'm frazzled and, whatever, all the things. And so that means I get a pass because everyone knows that tired new moms don't work out consistently and their house is disheveled and whatever. And it's okay. Like, obviously, if you're a new mom and those are the things for you, then, no one is judging you on that because those things are expected. Those things are natural and normal, right, for new moms. But here I was saying that it was really important for me to work out consistently. And I was having trouble doing it because the identity that I was really seeing myself as kind of wouldn't allow it. Like, because again, it's like almost weird for you to see yourself as a new mom with a new baby and to be prioritizing working out. It almost feels kind of selfish. It feels maybe superficial and vain because you just need to rest because you're this tired, mom. But because this was important to me, I started to say, why is this important to me? And I realized it was important to me, not just for my health, but also because I am a public figure, right? As my business grows, as my brand grows, more people recognize me when I'm out and about on the street. People look to me for inspiration. And part of that inspiration is in how I live my life and how I show up. It's not just in the information that I provide. And so it was important for me to be consistent and to work out so I could look like, whatever, the big name coach that I was fashioning myself to be. And again, my daughter is 2 now. So this is well over 2 years ago when I was at this place, and I wasn't even at the place that I am now in my business. I hadn't even hit 7 figures in my business back then. I was doing well, but I wasn't even doing as well as I am doing now. But I realized that I needed to be kind of strict. And I know this is going to sound kind of crazy to some people who might be like, oh, you're being too hard on yourself. You were a new mom, etc. But as I always say, you can't be average and amazing at the same time. And we'll talk about that in just a moment. I knew that the different goals that I was aspiring to do were things that were quote unquote not normal, were things that were extraordinary, right? The ordinary is here. I was the one raising my hand and saying, I wanted an extraordinary life. I wanted extraordinary health and fitness. I wanted all of these things. And so I realized that it was a struggle for me to work out consistently because my identity wouldn't allow it. But I needed to shift into the other part of my identity, which was, hey, I am aspiring to be, a world-renowned, well-known coach and public figure. And so when I really owned that identity and kind of came to myself and be like, whoa, 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 whoa. You're not just, a tired, frazzled mom. Like, you're a public figure right now, whether you realize it or not, right? Courtney, you have all of these social media followers. This is the life that you live. You've been doing this for a really long time. You've been full-time in your business for X amount of years at this point. I really started to pour in and focus on that part of my identity of, I'm a public figure. And it was strategic. Part of the reason why I kind of like psyched myself out and focused on that part of my identity was because for a public figure, right? For a celebrity, for someone who is in the public eye and is doing things, it is normal, it is natural, and it is non-negotiable for them to work out and be in shape and take care of themselves. And so I don't want you to miss this because this is key. When you are struggling with something and you are struggling to be consistent, it is because you have adopted an identity for whom it is not normal, it is not natural, and it is not non-negotiable. So I say all this to say, again, my fitness struggles, again, for a new mom who just got her baby to sleep and she's still dealing with all the realities of having a new baby, it's not normal to work out consistent, right? It's not even natural, right? And it's certainly not non-negotiable. Everybody's giving you a break and a pass because, hello, you're a new mom, you need to rest and you need to chill out. So if I were to only own that identity, then it would have been perfectly acceptable for me to not work out consistently. However, I was the one raising my hand. And again, I keep saying that for me, because this is not to shame any new moms who are like legit tired and are like, I just don't want to prioritize working out right now. That's fine. But I have a lot of different things going on, right? There are multiple aspects of how I live my life, multiple identities, multiple hats that I carry, right? Even on this channel, I say I wear all the hats and do all the things. That's a part of that. And so while I was wearing the new mom hat, there's another hat that I also wear as a public figure, a growing business entrepreneur, a person who is a leader who needs to be available for her team, that I was also wearing. And this aspect of that identity was falling to the wayside because I was not standing and prioritizing that identity. And so it was really amazing because when I came to and I was like, I'm a public figure, like I needed to get it together, it suddenly wasn't so hard for me to work out. And I know that sounds kind of like woo and like, oh, really? Truly, because when you see yourself as a type of person, again, there are things that are normal, that are natural, and that are non-negotiable to you. And so I tell this to women all the time, especially women that I coach, even, and this is kind of getting into more life coaching. I know on this, channel or on my YouTube channel or this podcast, again, if you're listening to this on iTunes or Spotify, I talk a lot about a lot of these different business concepts, but they really are one and the same. And so, I'll put on my life coaching hat here, but for women who are really struggling, even with things where it comes to getting promotions at work, getting into toxic relationships groups repeatedly, all the things that maybe someone would see a life coach around. A lot of this has to do with identity. They don't identify as the person for who it is normal, natural, and non-negotiable to do the things that they want to do and to do the things that they know that they need to be consistent in. So if you are struggling with consistency, one of the first things that you need to do is you need to say, okay, who carries the identity where this activity would be normal, natural, and non-negotiable? Ask yourself that, right? Like, just at a high level, what type of person doesn't struggle with this, essentially? What type of person wakes up in the morning, does this, and they don't even think twice about it? Once you are clear on those type of people, you need to ask yourself, can you adopt that identity and understand that it is a choice? So that's a whole nother discussion that we'll have to talk about. But I talk a lot about how people always are looking to their circumstances and not to the story that they are writing. And so they want to look around and say, well, I can't adopt that identity because I don't have this, or I don't have this much money in the bank, or, I'm living here, or I drive this, or all these superficial things that they think give them permission to be someone, not realizing that it's actually the other way around. You have to give yourself permission and decide that you want to be someone, and then understand that your reality and your circumstances will catch up to that identity once you own that identity and you walk into it. But the choice truly is yours. So you want to get a hold of your self-image and really ask yourself, who do I need to identify so that this activity is normal, natural, and non-negotiable? All right, the next thing that I do in order to just do it like Nike is I know my why. And I talked about this a little bit in the previous step when we talked about identity and really this kind of self-image that you have. But I know my why from a very practical stance. So knowing your why is helpful, again, for an identity. I knew, I'm growing this business. I want to be this person that's out front. And so as a public figure, it's normal and natural for me to work out consistently. Therefore, I need to adopt that identity so that it's easier for me to do it. But it also made it easier for me to do it because I realized that I wasn't just working out, right? Oftentimes when there are things that we don't want to do consistently, whether it's working out, posting on social media consistently, working on your business, whatever, it's easy to tell ourselves like, I'll do it tomorrow, or it's not that big of a deal, because we're just looking at the task at hand. But if we have an understanding of what the task at hand ultimately leads to, right? What is the cascading effect? What is the domino effect from that task at hand? It's a lot easier to find the motivation to do it because you know the real why, right? So even this YouTube video, like if I'm being honest, this is going to be a slightly shorter one because I'm pressed for time. I have other engagements, other appointments that I have to get to. I'm batch creating a lot of content. And I very easily could have said, I'm not even going to do this podcast today because the way I have to sandwich it in is not really convenient for me. But I know that me doing this, I'm not just recording a podcast. I know when I do these podcasts, one, I'm demonstrating my expertise to potential clients. Two, I am creating content that is then going to be repurposed and disseminated to all of my other platforms. So again, this video is going to go on my YouTube channel. The audio, obviously, if you're listening to this on iTunes or Spotify, is on those platforms as a podcast. We're going to rip the audio, and then this is going to become reels on Instagram. It's going to turn into shorts on YouTube. Even some of the quotes that I might say in here that are pretty good, we repurpose those and turn them into quotes that go on Instagram and Facebook as well. We can take the transcript and repurpose this into emails. Heck, maybe I'll even create an ebook or put this as a new chapter in the book that I'm working on, right? So I understand that I'm not just creating a podcast, I'm building my business and I'm attracting clients in the process. On top of that, I'm also building my profile and this brand, right? So this idea of, I want to be a public figure, me doing podcasts like this really contribute to that because it creates more content, more visibility, more notoriety. And you never know, I don't know if some director of some TV show or something might see this podcast on YouTube or listen to it on iTunes and say, hey, that's someone that we want to work with for our TV show. What would have happened had I never put this podcast out? So this is what I mean by knowing your why. You want to know the why beyond what you're doing, right? If you have a healthy eating goal and you're like, I don't really feel like eating salad for lunch for the third day in a row. If you focus just on the activity or the act of eating a salad, then yeah, you're probably not going to be consistent with it because it's really easy to blow that off. But if you know your real why, if you know, nope, I'm eating this salad because these diseases run in my family and I said that I want to be the one where it stops with me. And so I'm doing preventative health maintenance. And so I'm eating the salad, not just to eat a salad, but I'm eating the salad to be healthy for life. And this is just one little building block in that goal. It makes it that much easier. It makes you that much more motivated to do it. So really get clear and really, really know your why. But in addition to knowing your why from a positive standpoint, you also want to know your why from a negative standpoint. So, I remember all the times that I didn't do something and it actually had a negative cascading effect. And so a super simple example is kind of ridiculous, is I typically wash my hair on the weekends, or, wash and detangle my hair on like Saturday and Sunday, because I have a lot of hair. It's very thick. You can check out my super old videos on my YouTube channel. I get a lot of comments where people are like, why do you leave those videos up? But I started this channel as a hair care blogger. I had this like failing hair care business that I was doing. And so I leave those videos up, one, so that you can see where I'm coming from. And as proof of my story is like, I really built this business from scratch after having a previously failed, entrepreneurial endeavor trying to start a hair care business. But, there are times where I felt like I was too busy or I was focused on other things and I didn't get around to doing my full wash, deep condition, detangling, whatever routine on the weekends. And then I jump into the week and I'm way too busy to get it done. And then that has a negative cascading effect, because if I'm batch creating content on that week, suddenly I feel self-conscious because my hair is really tangled and really dry and I feel like I can't show up on video. And so then I'm putting off doing the videos and then the content is not done. So we don't have content on my social media. And because we don't have content on my social media, we don't have people joining my email list. We have less people reaching out and applying for my programs, getting on calls with my enrollment team. Like, there's a whole cascading effect simply by blowing off, right? Not washing my hair on the day that I scheduled to do it. So you want to also be clear, again, the cascading effect from a positive standpoint, but you want to get clear on what the negative consequences are from you not doing that one act. Know that why as well, because when you're really clear on that, it also creates the motivation. So in addition to knowing your why from a positive standpoint of, the domino effect, whether it be positive or negative, you also want to know your why in terms of why be consistent, right? So not just why do you need to do the activity that you are struggling with, but why be consistent in general. And for me, I know consistency is important because consistency is not about perfection as much as it is about probability. I'll say that again. Consistency isn't about perfection as much as it is about probabilities, right? So I know that by being consistent, I am increasing my odds. I gave a funny example of like, oh, what if, some TV producer like happens to watch this one video and gives me my big break, but I have real life situations where that has happened. Like not necessarily a TV producer, but someone stumbled on a piece of content that I did and they invited me on a big name podcast, or they referred someone to me who ended up being a client, or I got to speak at the White House, the United Nations. Like there are a lot of crazy, like, how'd you get that opportunities that people ask me all the time. How did that happen to you? And they don't realize that the reason it happened is because I don't know which act is going to, spark, right? I do the activities every single day, but I don't know which one is actually going to turn into my big break or into big success for me. And so because I don't know, is it going to be this podcast, or the next podcast? Is it going to be this workout or that workout? Is it going to be this day that I eat healthy or that day that I don't know which one is actually going to produce the result. And so I focus on being consistent because I know I increase my odds over time that one day the thing that I'm looking for is going to happen. In fact, I saw this meme on Instagram and I thought it was really good, where someone said something to the effect of, sometimes it takes 10 years to get to the 1 year that will change your life, right? So imagine if you weren't consistent all that time leading up to that because you're like, oh, I'm not getting results and I'm not seeing the results that I want to, not realizing that, again, it's a probability game. You're here increasing your odds. So you want to know your why from a positive standpoint, what could happen. You want to know your why from a negative standpoint, what could happen. But you also want to know your why for consistency. And the why ultimately is you want to increase your odds. All right, the next thing you need to do if you want to be like Nike and just do it is you need to master your feelings. And I actually go over this in depth in this podcast that you can check out here, which is all about how to level up as a woman in your 30s. In fact, that's one of my favorite podcasts that I've done in a while. Like, I know you're not supposed to like big up your own podcast episodes, but I feel like that one was really good. I really enjoyed recording that one. So I definitely recommend that you go check that out. And so I won't go super in depth in that because I really touch on it in that podcast. But in short, practically speaking, you want to practice mastering your feelings. So this should be obvious because a lot of people struggle with consistency simply because they don't feel like doing the things that they need to do. And most of us actually live our lives only doing what we feel like doing, which is really not good. And they actually don't have the skill of doing things that they don't feel like doing. And I say skill because it is a skill and it is a discipline and it's something that you have to get used to. I mean, most of us eat what we feel like eating. We do what we feel like doing on the weekends. Like, everything is very driven by like, what do I feel like today? And then we do that thing. We actually have no practice in asking ourselves, what do I know that I need to do that I don't feel like doing, but then actually doing it anyway? And so very practically speaking, you want to build activities into your life that exist, if for no other reason than to teach you and to train you on how to do things that you actually don't feel like doing. For me, this is in part what working out is about. Now, I actually enjoy working out. I enjoy my Peloton. Again, I'm one of those super annoying Peloton mom, Peloton people. But even within my workout, what I will do is I will kind of up the ante while I'm working out on purpose, not necessarily because I want to be that much stronger of a cyclist or I want to be that much faster or whatever. I literally do it just because I don't want to do it, but I want to train myself on how to do things that I don't want to do. So as I'm working out, the instructor is like, okay, turn the notch up, 1 degree or whatever, turn the notch up 1 point of resistance. I will deliberately turn it up to 2 or 3 points of resistance, not because I actually want to ride at that level or want to work out at that level, but I want to train myself on how to do things ultimately that I don't want to do. This is something that I have done from the very beginning. It's a big part of my self-discipline journey. I talk about how when I first learned self-discipline, one of the things that I trained myself on was a 21-day Jillian Michaels DVD. I think it was called, I can't even remember what that DVD was called, but it was some kind of fitness, get fit within 21 days. It was a DVD. That's how old school I am. And I had to rent it from the library because I didn't even have any money to buy it. And so I remember, being in college, actually putting this in my roommate's DVD player because I didn't even own one. And for 21 days, I forced myself to do that little 20-minute workout per day. Now, obviously my whole, life and fitness wasn't going to change by working out for 20 minutes a day for 21 days. But I did it because I was training myself on how to do things that ultimately I didn't feel like doing. Some days I felt like doing it. Some days I didn't feel like doing it, but I did it day in, day out, no matter what. So you want to think about what are some things that you can do in your life. Maybe it's journaling, for 10 minutes in the morning. Maybe it's forcing yourself to eat a salad, every day for lunch. Maybe it's taking the stairs when you go places, parking far in the parking lot and walking to the front door, working out, whatever it is that you typically don't want to do. Give yourself some training where you force yourself to do that so that when it comes to the bigger objectives that you have for your life, you've already got that muscle memory where you know how to do things that you don't feel like doing in the moment, but you do feel like achieving in the future. All right, the next thing that I do, and this is really practical, that helps me just do it like Nike, is I hitch a wagon. And so what I mean by that is I hitch my wagon, meaning the activity that I want to do, but I'm struggling being consistent with. I hitch it to something that I already do as a part of a habit. And in fact, this is a really great technique that's talked about in the famous book, Atomic Habits. So I definitely recommend that book if you haven't, listened to it like me, if you like audiobooks, or you haven't read it. But it's this idea of asking yourself, what do I normally do? And then how can I pair that activity with that? So for instance, for me, for a long time, again, inconsistent with working out, part of how I got over that, in addition to changing my self-image, was I said, what is something that I ordinarily do? Well, I normally pick up my son from school in the afternoon at this time. So I made a commitment to myself that I would hitch my wagon to that activity that I already did every day, where after I got home from picking my son up, I immediately would go change into my workout clothes and I would work out on my bike for 30 minutes. Again, I was hitching my wagon to an activity that I was already used to. So you want to look at your life and say, what are the things that are already a habit for you? Maybe you already wake up at a certain time. Maybe you pick up or take kids to school at a certain time. You make dinner at a certain time. You already have things that you do. Maybe you watch a TV show at a certain time. How can you take the activity that you struggle to be consistent with and essentially hitch that wagon there so that you can make sure that you are doing it very consistently? All right, and the last thing that I do in order to be consistent and to be just like Nike and do it is I focus on creating a success snowball. So oftentimes we lose consistency because we are trying to accomplish very, very big things, and it takes a really long time in order to achieve those things. What I do is I focus on the kind of micro goals within that broader goals, And I try to focus on how can I tick those things off, right? How can I knock those dominoes down? And I find that this is super motivating because instead of it taking me 6 months to accomplish one thing, maybe it's only taking me 2 months, but I've accomplished 5 little things. And from a psychological level, it makes me feel like, you know what? I am in a season of consecutive wins. In fact, most people go their whole life and they don't even know what that feels like to have win after win after win, not realizing that you can actually engineer that just simply by focusing on what are the small goals inside of your bigger goals. Go ahead and achieve those. And it creates this like drive and this motivation because you won't want to break the chain. You'll see like, ooh, I successfully did this for a week. I successfully did this for a month. I did this other thing. Again, it might be very small things, but when it all adds up in your mind, you start to feel like, ooh, I am the type of person who makes these things happen. And I don't want to mess up my own track record. And so it makes you that much more motivated to be very consistent. So think about different ways that you can engineer consistency in your life in order to create that season of consecutive wins. All right. Thanks so much for watching or listening to this podcast. I know this was a slightly shorter one. I'm one of those people that I'm grateful because I have fans that are like, no, we want a longer podcast, right? We want the 50-minute podcast. So again, time-wise, I got another thing that I have to jump to. Unfortunately, I couldn't do a super long one, but I have another one coming. So make sure that you are tuning in next week, to get a longer, more in-depth podcast. But I think that this podcast is a perfect example of being consistent no matter what. So hopefully this motivated you to do it like Nike no matter what. If you struggle with motivation and you struggle with consistency and discipline, I invite you to check out my brand new rebooted program, No Excuses Woman. No Excuses Woman is my program that put me on the map as a life coach way back in 2015. It was all around self-discipline. I've since upgraded it and rebooted it to be not just about self-discipline, but about goal achievement and really achieving the life of your dreams and doing all the things that you want to do. So if you're interested in that program, you can learn more about it and how to enroll by clicking the link either in the description below here on YouTube or in the show notes if you are listening wherever you get your podcast. And so with that, I will see you in the next episode. Bye.